This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social. Delighted to be joined here today by Adam Smith. We've just watched a documentary, Adam. Why don't you tell us what we've just seen here today?
Well, we've seen the first fight of Dillian Whyte and Derek Chisora, the classic, 2 years ago to the day in Manchester. It was on the AJ Molina card, a phenomenal atmosphere up there, and after a pretty difficult build-up, the two warriors gave us a fight to remember. And of course they go at it again in some 12 days' time at the O2 in London, December the 22nd, and everyone can't wait. I mean, it's a fantastic narrative. It's a great rematch. Two guys that gave us thrills in the summer, in July. Derek Chisora finding the punches to keep his heavyweight career alive. Dillian Whyte going from strength to strength with his best win over Joseph Parker. And it's a rematch that I think had to happen. With David Hay now working with Derek Chisora and Eddie Hearn obviously involved. It was pretty easy to make. The two guys won it, and we're ready to go again. Can't wait.
They mentioned it was 2 years ago. What struck me when I was watching that is Dillian Whyte looked very young on screen. It seems like a lot has happened in between the fights. Why don't you kind of break down why it's different this time around, if it's different this time around for both men?
Well, he was very domestic level, wasn't he, then? And now he's just a one fight away, possibly, from challenging Anthony Joshua at Wembley in April. Dillian's had a great couple of years. He's matured. He's taken his opportunities, and he's fought some big names as well. You know, I mean, he was in with Robert Helenius, he was in with Lucas Brown, good fighters, and he's just done everything that's been asked of him. The Parker win, I think, was really good. Yes, he was tired at the end. He nearly came a cropper late on, but that's all experience, and I think he's matured. I think he's learned how to deal with the media. He's still him. He's still Dillian. He's still raw. He's still the street guy he always has been. But I think that he's polished that in a way. He's learned how to really conduct himself very well in front of the camera. I think he's clever, and I think look, he's in a really good position now. He's made money. He's taken, as I said, those chances as opportunities. He's improved as a fighter. He's learned how to look after his body better physically, and I think his mental state as well is in a good place. So Dillian starts this as a favourite, and he's convinced he's going to go in and finish the Chisora story once and for all. But Derek going in with David is a very sensible move. He's under lock and key. Don Charles, along with David Setup and Ruben Tabarez, the great conditioning coach, and I think that Derek's going to be at his very, very best, but will his best be good enough this time around? That's the big question.
You mentioned a potential fight with Anthony Joshua awaiting certainly Dillian Whyte if he was to come through. By all intents and purposes, it looks like Wilder Fury potentially could happen again in a rematch. If Derek Chisora comes through against Dillian Whyte, is that a realistic fight to be made in April? Joshua versus Chisora at Wembley?
As Eddie said just then, everything is unpredictable in boxing. And if Dillian Whyte suddenly comes a cropper to Derek Chisora and Chisora wins by a stunning knockout, people will take that fight against Joshua. Why not? I think it's more about their history. They're both from Finchley. I don't think Anthony Joshua in an ideal world wants to fight Derek Chisora because he looked up to him. But look, it's business. I think the idea is that Eddie will try and make the Joshua Wilder fight, but as you rightly said, it's been sanctioned, the rematch, not ordered but sanctioned. Wilder Fury, a lot of people want to see that again. That makes massive sense in so many ways. Such a good fight last week. We have to wait and see what happens, what comes out in the next few weeks. If Wilder fights Fury, then Joshua's got to fight someone. And if Dillian Whyte loses on December 22nd, Chisora's in the picture. There's no question about that. So is Jarrell Miller, so are other heavyweights. But I think the winner of December 22nd is in a very good position, providing Wilder and Fury gets made and the Joshua Wilder fight doesn't get made, because that's always still a possibility. Talks are ongoing, and until things are signed and sealed, we know in boxing that the unpredictable can happen, and often does.
I came back from LA last week. I was out there for the fight. They did a heavyweight legends kind of roundtable with Riddick Bowe, Lennox Lewis, Michael Spinks, plus plenty of Evander Holyfield. Jim Gray was announcing that. The rhetoric that was pretty brazen as well was that Anthony Joshua would duck Deontay Wilder. With that kind of going around the air and going around the circles in America, does the fact that the Wilder Fury fight has now become a draw, does that kind of heighten the need for AJ to step in the ring with a Joshua, with a Wilder or a Fury?
Certainly the Wilder and Fury fight meant the talk was all about Wilder and Fury, and I think Tyson Fury deserves enormous credit for what he did in LA. I thought it was a fantastic performance. I had him winning comfortably, and despite the knockdowns, and he got up off that 12th round knockdown. But look, another second, and Deontay Wilder would have been the, well, not just the champion, he'd have won the fight, and people would have said, look, he finds something from nowhere. Look, it was a great fight for the heavyweight division. Did Anthony Joshua lose ground? Maybe for a while, short period of time in the trade, but listen, he's still the big name. He's still the marquee name with the casual fans here. There's no question about that. He's the one that's been selling out 80,000-seater stadiums, from Wembley and Klitschko to the Principality a couple of times and back to Wembley. People want to see AJ. He is the golden boy still. And let's look at his record. He's not ducking anybody. He fought Vladimir Klitschko in a humdinger. He then goes in to fight Kubrat Pulev, who pulls out. In comes Carlos Takam, no complaints, gets on with it, does the job. Then he fights an unbeaten fighter in Joseph Parker, and then is mandatory in Alexander Povetkin. So Anthony Joshua's fought everybody put in front of him. Trust me, he wants to fight Deontay Wilder, and he wants to fight Tyson Fury. Those fights can and will be made, but I understand. If the flavour is slightly with Tyson Fury at the moment, then fine, it will be. But Anthony Joshua will be out in New York this week. I know he's working with DAZN on the Canelo Rocky Fielding fight. He'll also be in London next week working for us. He's right in the picture still, and they know as well. Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury know they need to fight Anthony Joshua. He's the one with all the belts, apart from the WBC, so I think it's a bit silly for them to be sort of writing him off over in America and saying he's scared of Deontay Wilder. I think that's rubbish. I don't think he's scared of Deontay Wilder one little bit. I think he wants to fight Wilder. I think he wants to fight Fury. But it's up to Eddie Hearn and Shelley Finkel and Al Heyman to make the Wilder fight, and obviously Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn to sit down and try and work out Tyson Fury. So there's a lot of politics involved, but I have no doubt that all these three fighters want to fight each other. It's just the fact that they're with different broadcasters, different promoters, and it's tough to get it made. But they will get made at some point.
If Joshua, say for example, the Wilder Fury fight doesn't take place, or even if it does take place, boxing fans are quite a fickle bunch. I can consider myself a boxing fan, so I can say that absolutely.
We're all fans, and we all want the big fights.
If Anthony Joshua doesn't fight Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury in April for whatever reason, do you think there's an inevitability that he will open himself up to scrutiny and criticism?
I think he's probably opened up to criticism anyway. He was poor in the first couple of rounds of the Povetkin fight. Dillian Whyte hurt him. Vladimir Klitschko put him on the floor. A lot of people say Tyson Fury beats him. Some people say Deontay Wilder knocks him out. The proof's in the pudding. Anthony Joshua, as I said, has done everything asked of him. He's unbeaten. He's got more belts than anyone else. He's got more cash than anyone else, and he's got more fans. So he's doing something right, isn't he? I don't think if Dillian Whyte puts on a great performance on December the 22nd and he fights Whyte on April the 13th, that's no problem at all, providing the Wilder-Fury rematch happens. I think if Wilder-Fury rematch doesn't happen, and Joshua then doesn't fight a Wilder or Fury, yeah, maybe. But I think they are trying to make the fight. I know they're trying to make the Joshua-Wilder fight. Listen, it was almost made last year, but, he had the Povetkin mandatory. The Wilder team, the Joshua team, didn't get it sorted. But this is boxing. Fight fans want the big fights all the time. You look back to the sort of the trilogies of Bo Holyfield, the time it took to make Lewis Tyson, even sort of Pacquiao Mayweather, and obviously Khan-Brook's never been made. These things take time. You can't have big fight after big fight after big fight. This rematch, Whyte-Chisora, has taken 2 years to make. So there's no guarantees of anything. But I think that more than likely Fury and Wilder will fight again, and Joshua will fight, say, a Dillian Whyte in April, and then they get together later on in the year. But, Eddie's out there this week in New York. Maybe things will change. Maybe AJ fights Wilder. Maybe AJ even fights Fury. Who knows?
I appreciate this is going to be a difficult question, but taking all political kind of minefields out of the equation...
Who do I think's the best?
Who would you like? What fight would you like to see? I'll ask you that afterwards. That's a good question. journalistic instinct taking over. Which fight would you like to see if you could put on any fight between arguably the top three or the consensus top three of Wilder, Fury, and Joshua?
I think I'd like to say Anthony Joshua fight Tyson Fury at Wembley with my British eyes on. I think that's the biggest fight, certainly over here. For all the belts, it's Wilder. And obviously I'd like to see Fury-Wilder rematch because it was a draw last time. I didn't agree with the draw. I thought Fury won the fight. But, you know, look, Deontay could knock him out next time. He's got the power. We know that. So I'd be interested in all of them, wouldn't you?
I would. Who do you think's the best?
That's the million-dollar question, the multi-million-dollar question, maybe. A lot of people in my team think it's rock, paper, scissors. You know, any one of them could beat any one of them on any given night. I think Anthony Joshua is going to be tough to beat. He's very structured. He's physically strong. He's got power. He's got a great jab. Tyson Fury's got wonderful mobility. If he can hold himself together, if he can even improve on what he did in LA a week ago, I think he's going to be very dangerous for Joshua and very dangerous for Wilder. And then Deontay Wilder's got the equalisers to knock any of them out. So I think Anthony Joshua's in pole position. I still think that, even though Tyson Fury boxed beautifully the other week and deserves enormous credit from where he's come from, and is undefeated and is arguably the best. But you know, Anthony Joshua is the guy that we've backed from the beginning, the Olympic champion. He's done, as I said, everything that's asked of him, both in and out of the ring on Sky. Why move away from him now?
Moving away from the heavyweight division, we saw Khan-Brook return to action this past weekend against Michael Arafa in Sheffield. What did you make of his performance?
I thought Kel's performance was poor. We said so on commentary. I mean, I'm a massive admirer of Khan-Brook and have been since he was a 10-year-old kid, and I saw him walk on his hands through the Winkerbank gym in Sheffield. I've always thought he'd had amazing talent. I always thought he was the one that maybe could come through after Naz, and he has. He's been a phenomenal fighter. And I think maybe it's because he and we set such high standards for Kel. I think, you know, look, he's had a new trainer and a new training camp. Maybe he overtrained. Maybe there was a bit of rim rust there. And maybe also he overlooked Michael Arafa. But to be honest, I think he should have dealt with Arafa easier. I thought he got caught too much. I thought it was a sloppy performance from Khan-Brook. But then I didn't think Amir Khan had a great night against Sammy Vargas. I thought that, you know, he didn't have his best performance, and neither has Kel. Listen, I think what's obvious is that the two of them have got to fight each other. I think they both need each other to bring the best out in each other. And I also think it's a very dangerous division out there, the welterweight division, and also up at super welterweight. There's big fights for both of them, but I think the biggest fight is that they get it on now before one of them gets beat.
Well, you mentioned that obviously rumours swirling that Amir Khan's going to face Terence Crawford. Khan-Brook looked to me as if somebody who potentially is starting to realise that he's not going to get that Amir Khan fight, with the Terence Crawford fight potentially being made. Do you think it's fair to say that if Khan does face Terence Crawford, that fight's just not going to happen?
Well, that's what Eddie and Cal are saying, that if he fights Crawford, it's not going to happen. I mean, I did an interview last week. I'm not the one. I don't like criticising fighters. If Amir Khan believes that Terence Crawford is the fighter he wants to, you know, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and that's how he wants to go for glory, and obviously he'll get well paid in America as well, then who are we to stop him? I just think to be honest, I think the perfect fight for Khan-Brook and for Amir Khan is each other. I've told Eddie that countless times. They're both under the Matchroom banner. This is the time to make the fight. I think they could have two fights next year. I think we could have a story, a narrative, a bit like the Froch Groves one. You know, people want to see Khan-Brook even this late on in their careers, and I think if we lose it, you know, it's going to be a shame. It's going to be a bigger shame than losing Hatton and Witter. You know, they both had their careers in their own right, and I don't think even though we wanted to see them together, more people want to see Brook and Khan, and I think that's the fight that people care about. If Kel could go and fight Jarrett Hurd, he could go and fight Jesse Vargas, all sorts of fighters. Khan could go and fight Terence Crawford, but fundamentally people want to know if Khan's better than Brook or Brook's better than Khan, and the fact they're both coming off poorer performances than usual, to me shows that there's not a lot of time, and I think that they both need that spark, each other's name, the Brook Khan name, to get each other whipped into the best possible shape, mentally and physically, and to give fight fans what they want. So I am still sticking by my guns that for me it's Khan-Brook to be made next. And if it's not, I'll be disappointed. Sure, if Amir Khan goes and fights Terence Crawford, that's another story, and Khan-Brook will go and fight, I'm sure, for another world title somewhere next year. But what I saw on Saturday night and what I saw back in September with Amir Khan and Vargas makes me think that this fight has to happen now, or I don't think it ever will.
Is that a case of it won't happen next because they'll have different avenues, or just not think there'll be the demand for it? I think general consensus is there's not the same demand for that fight, particularly with Khan-Brook coming off his most recent performance and Amir Khan coming off his most recent performance. Do you think it's just a case of it will be the timelines just won't add up, or do you think the public demand will not be there for the fight?
I think we've been talking about it too long now. The fight was very nearly made before Khan went and fought Canelo. He took that for big money. but it was really close then. It cannot be closer than with both of them under the Matchroom stable. Okay, Khan and Brook have even chatted at ringside at the Bellew Usyk fight. You know, Khan's put the clauses in or whatever. Brook says he'll do it. You know, ultimately, this fight is here to be made now. Yeah, and I think there is a bit of the public getting annoyed about it, and also seeing recent performances, and also thinking, you know, look, you know, it's a fight we wanted to see 3-4 years ago, and Mayweather Pacquiao was a fight that we got too late. We don't want to get this fight too late. Plus, you know, Brook, it may just have been an off night on Saturday. Look, he won the fight. He got the victory. And sometimes, you know, you go through treacle and you eat the win out. But, you know, he's had one or two of those. He's had that with Carson Jones. He's got the 2 losses to Golovkin and Spence. You've got to sort of say what is left, how much is left, how long is left with Brook. And I think you've got to say the same with Amir Khan. You know, he's had that fight with Vargas. You know, he had the easy win against the Greco, which didn't tell us anything. But before that, he got knocked out badly by Canelo. I just think the two of them need each other now, and I think it will be the best decision for their careers. They'll make a lot of money from it. They'll make a lot of memories. And I think whichever way the first fight goes, you can have another one, because I think that they've both got the ability to beat each other. I still think now people are going to be completely split as to who wins. You know, you think after Khan starts performance, you think, oh, it's Brook. After Brook starts performance, it's Khan. And I agree with Eddie, you know, there's a Arafa fight will be chip paper in a few days. If this fight can be made, Brook and Khan and Brook, whichever way you want to look at it, for the new year, we're all going to get excited about it. It's going to be brilliant.
Just finally, I've spoke to you about this at length over the years, really, when we've talked about Amir Khan and Brook. I was there, I interviewed you when Khan signed with Matchroom. I know this is a fight that you yourself, as head of boxing for Sky Sports, have really wanted for a while. I know you were bending Eddie's ear, should we say, about getting Khan on Sky. When Khan signed with Matchroom, could you have envisioned the fact that we're on the third fight of the 3-fight deal and it's still up in the air as to whether or not Brook will actually happen?
As I said to you a little earlier, boxing is so unpredictable. Am I annoyed about it? Yes. I think that Brook and Khan should definitively fight. They're both under the Matchroom stable. It's a perfect fight for March, and I'll be disappointed if anything else happens. But as I said, you know, I speak a lot to Amir, I speak a lot to Cal. Terence Crawford is a great name out in America. If that's the way he wants to go, he's got his reasons. It's his career. He's a fighter. How long he's got left, 1, 2, 3, 4 fights, who knows? But what we do know is that Khan and Brook are at the end of their careers, the tail end. They haven't got a lot of time left. Okay, if Amir decides to go that way and Kel decides to go that way, and they don't meet, then we've got to accept that. We can't make them fight each other. But I think they should. I think the reasons are huge why they should fight each other, for them financially, for them career-wise, for fight fans, for us, for everybody. It is the right fight to make now. And as I said, they can fight in Manchester in March, and then you put them in the stadium in the summer, and then they can sail off into the sunset, having had a great story, just like Froch Groves, just like the great rivalries we love, just like this, Whyte and Chisora. If this is a great fight, you could always do that a third time. Fighters need each other, and I think this is a natural one. They don't like each other, and people don't know who's going to win.
Okay, well, as always, it's a pleasure catching up with you, Adam Smith. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
No problem at all.